Assalamualaikum and hi to everyone. Thank you for watching this video. So in this video, we continue on another discussion about the mobile computing under the topic security in mobile computing. We will discuss about the authentication and authorization. Okay. So when we talk about the authentication and authorization is about the how we want to control the access of our mobile application. So there are two categories in order to control the access of our mobile application. First is authentication and second is about the authorization. Okay. Authentication is determine the identity of the user. Before the user able to use the mobile application, we need to identify the identity of that user. Second is allow the legitimate user to use the device or the application. And third, require proof of authentication. So usually when we talk about the proof of authentication and we will discuss about the authentication is about the password, the biometric part, okay, that are the way we do authentication. Some of discussion about the authentication is about the double authentication, triple the authentication in order to make it more secure. Okay. The next category is about the authorization. Authorization is referred to the second level access control and determine what the user can do or cannot do. Okay. I believe that most of you usually use the web application or mobile application and the mobile application or any web application require you to log in using your username and password. So the process of login is referred to the authentication. Okay, authorization is the process of identify who are you. Okay, let's say you log in into the Shopee. Okay, you are the buyers or you are the seller. You are the normal user or you are the administrator. So that is the level of access control. If you are a buyer, so what kind of things that you're able to access? If you're the administrator, what the item that you're able to access? So that is referred to the authorization. So the authorization is to determine what the user can do and what is the user cannot do. What you can do as a user and what you cannot do. Okay, that are the categories of access control. That how you control your mobile application based on the authentication and the authorization. Okay, look at the authentication first. We talk about the password authentication. Okay, when we use the password authentication, this is most cheapest authentication that we can use and usually easy to be implemented. Work well with most application, easy. Okay, you do not need to think about the features that the mobile device has. Okay, for example, if you want to use the password, is quite easy compared if you want to use the biometric. Okay, for example, you want to use face recognition, so you must ensure that the device has the camera. So you need to have another level of thinking. You need to think about another things before you can develop or apply the authentication mechanism. But for the password, it's more cheapest and easiest to be implement and apply. Okay, drawback. How about the drawback? Some of the users just use the plain password, the easier password that they can remember. Example, 1234, ABCD. So certain things that easy for the hacker or the intruders able to detect. This is one of the reason why the password of authentication is still not quite strong enough to control the access of your mobile application or any devices. It can be defeated using the dictionary brute force attack. Okay, there are certain things that we can use in order to guess the password. That's why the user should use the strong password. Okay, and password authentication requires administrative control to be effective. So we need to control the minimum, the maximum, the complexity of the password, the aging of the password. After 6 months, the user need to renew, need to change the password, and limit fail attempt. The 3 time, 2 time, 1 time. So the administrator must control to make it more effective if you want to use the password. Okay, the next part is biometric. Okay, biometric based authentication is based on our own body. So our own body become the key to access on our mobile application. So help to improve the complexity of the access control system and measure the analysis person unique characteristic and use it for authentication. So if we want to use the biometric, so we need to identify the features that the mobile device has. Okay, for example, the sensor for thumbprint, the camera, that are the features, the hardware module that the device should have before we can implement this biometric. So the particular characteristic which is used for the authentication is called biometric trait. So sociological based on biometric trait and behavioral based on biometric trait. Okay, sociological based biometric trait is our fingerprint, our face recognition, the iris or retina. So it's referred to the sociological. And for the behavior is voice command. Yeah, example is our voice command, but it still have the drawback. Okay, if we want to use the biometric as our authentication mechanism, trait cannot be forgotten or misplaced and cannot be lost, and more difficult to form, requires only the person to be presented at the time in order to allow for access, and difficult to be cracked. We cannot use the brute force in order to crack the biometric authentication. Okay, another authentication that we can use is the pattern lock. Okay, most of the smartphone, tablet nowadays they provide with the pattern lock. So the pattern lock look like this one, but actually still can be guessed. So swipe path of the length 4 to 9 on the 3x3 grid. So basically this is your pattern, your lock look like. So you need to create your own pattern and you can authenticate your mobile device using this pattern lock. So advantages, we have 390, 89, 112 possible pattern, which not easy to guess using this one. And the drawback, attacker can see the pattern from the finger all on the screen. Okay, it give based on the screen phone of our phone, we can detect the pattern. Okay, still can be cracked using the pattern. Okay, so most common pattern lock. Okay, they already try to identify what are the pattern that the user will use. So these are the possible pattern. Okay, hardest as well as coolest pattern log ideas. This another the hardest pattern that can be applied. But like I said, I'm very sure that most of the user do not want to use the hardest pattern because it's not easy to memorize it. So most of the user will use this pattern. This one is the most common users use. It still can be one of the authentication part using the log, but still easy to be guess. Okay, so okay, we can compare this authentication in terms of the security, ease of use, the implementation work on phone. So based on the comparison, you can decide which one that you should use, which one that you will use when you want to develop your mobile application. Okay, if you want to use the authentication using password, this one is quite weak. You can make it more stronger compared to the previous one by put requirement when you want to create the password. Okay, ease of use is quite easy. Implementation is easy. Work on phone, of course, it work with your phone. Easy to be implemented. Okay, biometric. This one is quite strong. Ease of use quite hard. Implementation hard. It must depends on the phone features itself. Work on the phone possible if the phone have uh the modules, the hardware module that we need. Okay, Petalog weak, easy, and yes. So actually the Petalog and the password is quite similar, but we also can combine, make it hybrid authentication by combine password with the biometric with the Petalog, or Petalog with the password to make it more secure. So that's all for the authentication and authorization. So supposedly you know that in order to secure your mobile application, you need to apply the authentication, and you should know about the authorization. What are the difference, and why this authentication and authorization is very important when you develop the mobile application. It depends what kind of mobile application that you want to use. So that's all. Thank you and assalamualaikum.